Remembering Pope Francis. More on the tributes to the former pope as funeral preparations are underway. Plus, meetings in Crawford County are heating up over the discussion to house federal prisoners and the controversy over who pays fees in a library lawsuit.
Covering news where you live. This is 5 News at noon.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us for your 5 News at noon. I'm Tiffany Lee here with Stephen Elmore. Where Stephen, it has been an absolutely beautiful 24 hours, I feel like.
Yeah.
And today, it's looking the same?
Yeah, yesterday was nice. Today's going to be even better. Eventually, we'll climb up into those 80s later on this afternoon. Tomorrow going to be nice, but some rain chances back into the forecast. Here's a look at radar out there this evening. A few passing clouds, or this afternoon. A few passing clouds out there so far, but overall, seeing lots of sunshine out there. Again, daytime highs eventually climbing up into those 80s once we get into the late afternoon, early evening hours. Overall, looking really nice out there for today. Current temperatures out there already into those mid-70s, 74 there in Bentonville, 76 in Fayetteville, 77 there in Fort Smith, 72 in Alma, 74 there in Charleston, and 75 in Rogers. Nothing short of a gorgeous afternoon so far today. And again, tomorrow going to be nice as well, but those rain chances start to sneak back in. Northwest Arkansas, the rest of the day today looks like this. Daytime highs eventually reaching up into those low 80s. Plenty of sunshine. Get outside this evening. Should be pretty nice outside, staying into those 60s and 70s. Across the River Valley, we're going to reach up into those mid 80s for today. Almost too warm out there this afternoon. Lots of sunshine this evening, going to be gorgeous as well. Now, here's a look at what we're tracking over the next couple of days. Again, tomorrow, a little bit extra cloud coverage builds in by the time we get to the afternoon. Could have some spotty rain chances, maybe even an isolated thunderstorm, mainly across the River Valley. But that's going to kick off an active pattern for our Thursday, Friday into the start of your weekend. Those rain chances start to come back up, and we could even see some additional thunderstorms as well. We'll talk about it coming up.
Well, preparations are underway for the funeral of Pope Francis as leaders of the Catholic Church begin gathering to decide the future of the church. The Vatican announced that a solemn service for the Pope will take place on Saturday in St. Peter's Square, with thousands expected to attend. Tony Alello reports from Rome.
Catholic cardinals are gathering at the Vatican to finalize plans to honor Pope Francis and eventually choose his successor. Senior clergy and Vatican officials paid their respects to Francis Tuesday during an intimate service at the Santa Marta Hotel, where he laid in a coffin, adorned in a red robe and papal mitre. The first images of the late pontiff came on the same day Vatican officials announced his funeral will be held Saturday in St. Peter's Square.
There is a sense of a void that is somehow going to have to be filled, but coupled with that immediately is also the intrigue of what comes next.
The 88-year-old, who died Easter Monday after a stroke that caused heart failure, left behind specific instructions for a simple burial at Rome's Basilica of St. Mary Major, with a one-word inscription on his tomb, Franciscus, his name in Latin. There will be chanting in Latin as Pope Francis's body is moved in a solemn procession on Wednesday from Santa Marta to St. Peter's Basilica, where he will lie in state until the funeral and burial.
Pope Francis almost had like a radar for people who were left behind.
CBS Evening News co-anchor Maurice Dubois spoke with Cardinal Timothy Dolan, who was part of the conclave that selected Pope Francis 12 years ago.
They're going to see some mourning, they're going to see some gratitude, they're going to see some hope, and then they're going to see people say, we need to get to work.
The cardinals will be choosing a date after Saturday's funeral to begin their conclave to elect the church's next leader. Tony Aiello, CBS News, Rome.
Well, world leaders are already making their way to Rome to attend Pope Francis's funeral. President Trump confirmed on social media that he plans to attend, along with First Lady Melania Trump. Well, last month, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth came under fire for discussion about military information on a Signal group chat that included a reporter. And now there are reports that he shared military attack details with others as well. Sources say that he shared details about military airstrikes targeting Houthis in a private Signal group chat that included his wife, brother, and personal attorney. It comes amid a shakeup at the Pentagon. Hegseth accuses 3 former aides of leaking the information to the media. The fired officials say that the attacks against them are baseless, writing they still have not been told what exactly they're investigated for. President Trump says that he's happy with Hegseth.
Doing a great job. It's just fake news. They just bring up stories. I guess it sounds like disgruntled employees.
Meanwhile, the president is not happy with Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, calling him a, quote, major loser for not lowering interest rates. Stocks fell sharply Monday, losing about 2.5%. The Dow was on track for its worst April since 1932 during the Great Depression. Meanwhile, a Delta flight with 200 passengers caught fire Monday at Orlando International Airport. Flames were seen coming from the right engine of the Airbus A330, which was about to depart for Atlanta. Some of the passengers were evacuated via emergency slide. There were no initial reports of injuries. The FAA says it will investigate the incident, and Delta said that maintenance teams will examine the aircraft. Well, the Crawford County Sheriff's Office is considering a plan to house federal inmates in the county jail. But the idea is stirring controversy, especially as questions grow over who will pay the legal fees that are tied to the county's ongoing library lawsuit. Sheriff Daniel Perry pushed a contract with the U.S. Marshal Service to house federal inmates in the county jail. The deal would bring in $60 a day per inmate, and Perry says that the jail has the space. He hoped to use the extra revenue for essential upgrades like radios, equipment, and weapons. But not all quorum court members are on board. The measure failed.
Been received calls from those deputies in the sheriff's office, and it's overwhelmingly they don't want this. First of all, the amount that is being offered is very low.
It just doesn't sound like that good of a deal, like we could have done better.
We will likely have to call a special meeting in the coming weeks.
Crawford County has been ordered by a judge to pay $112,000 in legal fees that are tied to a lawsuit over LGBTQ books to be returned in the library. The quorum court will meet April 28th to discuss both issues. Well, we're learning from the community in Central Arkansas after Sunday's deadly shooting in Conway. People from all over the region returned to Fifth Avenue Park to remember the 2 lives that were lost. Faulkner County NAACP hosted the vigil on Monday to show support for grieving families. Some voiced frustration, saying that police were there before shots rang out and could have stopped it. The mother of Demetrius Feemster, who died in the shooting, also took the floor.
Conway failed my baby. Conway failed the Tati. And whoever was firing the gunshots failed me. But it started with when they ran the first time, the park should have been shut down.
Conway police addressed that claim during last week's press conference, saying that they're still investigating what exactly happened before shots were fired, as well as the actual shooting and finding a suspect. Well, the Education Department will soon begin referring student loan borrowers that are in default to credit agencies. The federal government paused the practice in the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. It also means that for borrowers in default, the government could start garnishing wages. Currently, more than 5 million borrowers are in default on their federal student loans. The changes will go into effect on May 5th. The National Weather Service says a tornado touched down on Easter Sunday in Fayetteville. This is video captured from a Ring doorbell camera when the tornado hit the Humont Village neighborhood in northwest Fayetteville. Survey teams say that they confirmed the storm produced an EF1 rated tornado. There's some Sky 5 video showing some of the damage that it left behind. The storm packed winds of over 100 miles per hour, ripping roofs on several homes in its path. Well, down in Central Arkansas, crews have been out cleaning since an EF1 tornado hit Lonoke County over the weekend. The path of the tornado left uprooted trees, down power lines, and damaged homes on Sunday. But the county sheriff's office investigator says that the damage caused no injuries. Well, today is the 55th celebration of Earth Day. It was first observed in 1970 to raise awareness about environmental issues. Now people around the world participate in Earth Day activities. Here are some small ways that you can make a positive impact on your planet. Now, before you throw something away, think about whether it can be recycled or repurposed. Limit your water usage and volunteer to pick up trash at a nearby park. Maybe even start a recycle drive or just spread the word on social media.